By the time they called me into the conference room, the missing money already had my name on it. Not officially. Not yet. But I could feel it in the way people stopped talking when I walked past the break room. I could feel it in the way my manager, Brent Keller, would not look me in the eye. I could feel it in the way the accounting director placed a folder on the table like she was setting down a loaded weapon. $48,000 had disappeared from the company operating account. A vendor payment had been rerouted. The invoice had been approved through my login. The bank details had been changed from my desk. And by 9:17 that Tuesday morning, everyone at Ellison Foods in Atlanta was looking at me like I had stolen money from the company that used to call me dependable. Brent folded his hands across the table and said, "Viola, we need you to explain why your credentials were used." I looked at the folder. Then I looked at the camera in the corner of the conference room, and I said nothing. Not because I was guilty. Because somewhere in that building, another camera had already watched the truth stay late. My name is Viola Carter, and I learned that week that when people want a thief, they do not always look for the person who stole. Sometimes they look for the person quiet enough to carry the blame. Ellison Foods was not a glamorous company. We did wholesale distribution for restaurants, hotels, school cafeterias, and small grocery chains across Georgia and the Carolinas. My job was in finance operations, which meant I lived inside purchase orders, invoices, vendor records, payment approvals, and the kind of spreadsheets nobody respects until one wrong number costs somebody their job. I had worked there for 6 years. Long enough to know which vendor always sent invoices late. Long enough to know which sales manager rounded numbers in his own favor. Long enough to know that the coffee machine on the 3rd floor only worked if you pressed the button twice and whispered a prayer. I was not the loudest person in the office. I was not the person with the biggest smile or the sharpest blazer. I was the woman people came to when something needed to be fixed quietly. A payment stuck in review. A client asking why their credit memo had not posted. A vendor threatening to pause deliveries because somebody forgot to update tax paperwork. I fixed things. That was my mistake. When you become the person who fixes everything, people start thinking your hands are always near every problem. My soft spot was simple. I believed peace was proof of maturity. If someone took credit for my work, I let it go. If someone spoke over me in meetings, I told myself they were insecure. If Brent asked me to stay late, I stayed late. If Dana Whitmore from accounting rolled her eyes when I corrected a number, I pretended not to see it. I thought being calm meant being strong. I did not understand that calm without boundaries can become a welcome mat. At first, I liked working with Dana. She was sharp, organized, and quick with numbers. When she joined Ellison Foods as senior accounting coordinator, she treated me like someone worth learning from. She would come to my desk with sticky notes and questions. "Viola, how do you catch duplicate vendor entries so fast? Viola, what does the audit team usually flag first? Viola, can you show me how to pull payment history without bothering it?" I showed her. Not because I was naive, because I knew what it felt like to be new and watched. For the first 3 months, Dana praised me in every meeting. If Viola had not caught that billing error, we would have overpaid by $12,000. Viola knows the vendor system better than anyone. Honestly, I just follow Viola's process. People smiled when she said that. I smiled too. There was a comfort in being appreciated by someone who understood the work. Then the first warning came small. My name disappeared from a workflow document I had built. It was a vendor risk checklist I had created after we almost paid a fake invoice the year before. I wrote it from scratch, tested it, trained the team on it, and saved it in the shared finance folder. One Friday afternoon, Dana sent an updated version to Brent. At the top, under prepared by, it said Dana Whitmore. I stared at it longer than I should have. Then I told myself not to be childish. It was only a document. The work mattered more than credit. That is what I told myself. A week later, Dana brought me a latte from the cafe downstairs. "By the way," she said, placing it on my desk, "I hope you were not weird about the checklist thing. Brent asked me to clean it up, so I just put my name there for version control." She smiled like she had done me a favor by explaining. I smiled back. That was the small recovery, the little moment where disrespect wears perfume and asks you to relax, so I relaxed. Then the second warning came louder. Dana started asking for access she did not need. Vendor edit permissions, payment release history, bank update logs, admin approval paths. I asked her why. She laughed softly and said, "Viola, you cannot be the only person who knows everything. What if you win the lottery and leave us helpless?" But something inside me tightened. I told Brent about it during a one-on-one. He rubbed his forehead like I had brought him a personal inconvenience. "Dana is ambitious," he said. "That is not a crime." I did not say it was. "Then maybe do not make it sound like one." That was the moment I should have stopped protecting peace. But I wanted to be mature. I wanted to be professional. I wanted to believe that if I did my job cleanly, the truth would always know where to find me. So I ignored the obvious, because I wanted peace. I did not know peace was becoming the room where they would later place the accusation. The missing money was discovered on a Monday morning. A vendor called Mason Ridge Packaging said they had not received payment for an invoice we showed as paid. $48,000. The payment had gone out 4 business days earlier. The invoice number matched. The approval chain looked clean, but the bank account on the vendor record had been changed 2 hours before the payment batch was released. That was when the office changed temperature. Finance stopped laughing. Accounting stopped eating lunch together. It came upstairs twice. Brent closed his office door. By noon, people were whispering the number, 48,000. By 3, they were whispering my name. Because the vendor record showed the bank details had been changed under my login, my initials, my workstation. The first time I heard someone say it, I was standing near the printer. 2 junior accountants were whispering by the supply cabinet. One of them said, "I heard it was Viola's credentials." The other said, "That makes sense. She knows the whole system." That makes sense. Those 3 words cut deeper than the accusation. Because they did not say, "That is impossible." They said, "That makes sense." The next morning, Brent called me into the conference room. Dana was already there. So was Marcy Dean, the accounting director. So was Leonard Pike from HR. And beside Leonard sat a man I had never met before, wearing a navy suit and a face that had been trained not to react. Corporate security. The folder was on the table. My chair was the only empty one. That was the public humiliation. Not loud, not dramatic. No screaming. Just 4 people sitting across from me like I had already been reduced to a file. Brent began gently, which made it worse. "Viola, this is not an accusation. This is a fact-finding conversation." I looked at Dana. She looked down at her notebook. Marcy slid a paper toward me. "Your credentials were used to update Mason Ridge Packaging's bank information last Thursday at 7:42 p.m. I left at 5:18, I said. Dana's pen stopped moving. Brent leaned back. "The system shows your login. I understand what the system shows." Leonard from HR cleared his throat. "Can anyone else access your password? Number, have you shared your login at any time? Numbers, did you approve or modify vendor banking information after hours? Number, Marcy tapped the paper once. Then why does the audit trail say you did?" That was how the villain controlled the narrative. Not by calling me a thief, by making the lie look like a question only I could not answer. Dana finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost sad. "I hate to even say this," she said, "but Viola has been under a lot of pressure lately." I turned my head slowly. She did not look at me. "She has been frustrated about workload, access changes, process ownership. I do not know if that matters, but I think we should be honest about context. Context. That is what people call poison when they want it to sound professional." Brent nodded like she had given him a responsible detail. I felt the room lean away from me. The old Viola would have defended herself. The old Viola would have explained every hour, every login, every process, every reason the accusation made no sense. But something in me had gone very still. I did not scream. I did not cry. I did not beg them to believe me. I folded my hands in my lap and said, "You should pull the camera footage." Brent blinked. "What camera footage?" "The hallway outside finance. The camera facing the east exit. The camera above the vendor records room. And the one over the printer station." Marcy looked at corporate security. He made a note. Dana's jaw moved once. Just once. That was the first receipt entering the room. Not the whole truth. Just enough to make the lie feel watched, Brent said. We are already reviewing digital records. Digital records show who logged in, I said. Cameras show who stayed late. The room went quiet, not silent. Quiet. There is a difference. Silent means nothing is happening. Quiet means everyone just heard something land. They placed me on administrative leave that afternoon. Paid leave, they said. Temporary, they said. Standard procedure, they said. But when I walked back to my desk with Leonard from HR beside me, everyone saw. They watched me pack my mug, my notebook, and the framed photo of my late father from the corner of my desk. No one spoke. Except Dana. She stood near her office door and said, I really hope this clears up. Her voice was sweet. Her eyes were dry. I looked at her and remembered the first time I noticed something was wrong. It had been 2 weeks earlier, a Thursday night. I had stayed late to finish month-end reconciliations. Around 6:40, I went to the copy room and saw Dana standing by my desk. Not near my desk. She jumped when she saw me. Then she laughed. Oh my God, you scared me, she said. Brent asked me to grab the revised vendor report from your folder. I frowned. My folder is on the shared drive. I know, she said quickly. I meant the printed one. There was no printed one. But I was tired. So I let it pass. That night, when I got home, something bothered me enough that I checked my company email from my laptop. I noticed a password reset notification from it. It said your temporary workstation unlock request has been completed. I had not requested one. The next morning, I asked it about it. A technician named Omar told me it was probably part of the overnight security patch. But his voice was uncertain, so I forwarded the notification to my personal email. Not company data, not confidential records, just the notification. A small receipt, a small strange thing. A mystery ping I did not yet understand. I copied Brent. I copied Marcy. I copied corporate security. Then I waited. That was the investigation phase, the middle part no one sees. The part where revenge does not look like fire. It looks like timestamps. The first positive came 2 hours later. Leonard replied, received. We will add these items to the review. The first negative came 10 minutes after that. Brent called me. I did not answer. He left a voicemail. Viola, I got your email. I understand you are upset, but I would be careful about making this bigger than it needs to be. I listened twice. Then I saved it. The second positive came from Omar. He sent one text from a number I did not know. Ask for camera sync time. Hallway camera runs 4 minutes slow. Then the number never replied again. The second negative came Thursday morning. Dana sent a company-wide message. Not about me directly. That would have been too obvious. It said, given the recent finance incident, I want to remind everyone that integrity is not just a policy, it is a culture. We owe our vendors, clients, and teammates transparency. People replied with heart emojis. Thumbs up emojis. Thank you, Dana. Well said. So professional. I stared at the screen and laughed once. Not because it was funny, because arrogance always reaches for a microphone before the trapdoor opens. Dana had overplayed her hand. She could have stayed quiet. She could have let the investigation move slowly. But she needed to stand close to the fire and pretend she was holding water. By Friday, Leonard called me back in. This time, the conference room felt different. Dana was there. Marcy was there. But there was one new person at the table. A woman named Carolyn Reeves from the Regional Compliance Office. When compliance comes in from another state, the room stops belonging to your manager. Brent did not begin the meeting. Carolyn did. Ms. Carter, she said, thank you for coming in. We are going to walk through several records today. I nodded. Dana sat very still. Carolyn clicked a remote. The screen lit up. First, she showed the vendor record. Mason Ridge Packaging. Bank information changed Thursday at 7:20 p.m. User, Carter. Then she showed the badge logs. My badge exited the building at 7:20. It did not re-enter. Then she showed Dana's badge. Exited at 7:20 p.m. Re-entered at 7:10 p.m. Exited again at 17:50 p.m. After they sent me home, I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes. The building looked normal. People walked in and out holding coffee and badge lanyards. Somebody laughed near the front entrance. Life is cruel that way. Your reputation can be bleeding out while the world keeps opening doors. That was my low point. Not the leave, not the accusation, not even the missing money. It was realizing how quickly 6 years of trust had turned into a rumor with my face on it. My brother Noah called that evening. I had not told him everything, but he knew my voice. "What happened?" he asked. I told him. He listened without interrupting. Then he said, "Viola, stop trying to sound calm. I am calm." "No," he said. "You are doing that thing where you fold pain until it fits in your pocket." That line broke something in me. I cried then. Not loudly, just enough to admit I was human. For one night, I let myself feel the humiliation. Then, the next morning, I stopped asking, why would they think this of me? What can I prove? That was the shift. Payne had been standing in the doorway. Proof walked past it and turned on the lights. I opened a notebook and wrote down everything. Dates, times, names, access requests, Dana at my desk. The password reset notification, the vendor checklist she took credit for. The way she had asked about bank update logs. The way Brent dismissed my concern. The way she introduced pressure into the conference room. Then I called Omar from it. He did not want to talk. "I am not supposed to discuss an active review," he said. "I am not asking you to discuss the review," I said. "I am asking whether temporary workstation unlocks are tied to badge access." He paused. "Usually, yes. Usually. If someone unlocks a machine after hours, the request should be tied to either the assigned user, an admin override, or a manager-approved access ticket. Was mine manager approved? Silence. Omar. He lowered his voice. "I cannot send you anything. I did not ask you to. But you should ask R to request the access ticket, not just the login records. The access ticket. That was the subplot. Omar was not a hero with a sword. He was a tired technician with enough conscience to point at the right drawer. And sometimes that is all the truth needs. On Wednesday, I emailed Leonard from HR. Not an emotional email. Not a defensive essay. Just one clean request. Please include the following in the investigation file. Badge access logs for the finance floor from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. last Thursday. Security camera footage from the east hallway, vendor records room entrance, and finance printer station. Access ticket connected to the temporary workstation unlock request under my profile. Device activity logs showing keyboard and mouse activity at my workstation. Vendor record change history for Mason Ridge packaging, including IP address and session origin. Nobody moved. Carolyn clicked again. The hallway camera appeared. Grainy. Gray. Timestamped 7:05 p.m. Though Omar had warned me it ran 4 minutes slow. Dana entered through the east hallway wearing a long tan coat and carrying a laptop bag. She used her badge. She looked once toward the camera. Not nervous. Like someone who had already convinced herself the building belonged to her after hours, Carolyn clicked again. The vendor records room entrance. Dana walked past it at 7:18. Then again at 7:36. Then the finance printer station. At 7:39, Dana stood beside the printer holding a sheet of paper. She looked down the hall. Carolyn paused the video. The room had changed. That is the thing about proof. It does not raise its voice. It rearranges everybody else's breathing. Dana finally spoke. "I came back for a file." Carolyn looked at her. "What file?" Dana swallowed. "A vendor file. Brent asked me to." Brent's face shifted. "No, I did not." Dana turned to him. "You said we needed to be ready for the Mason Ridge follow-up. I did not ask you to return after hours." Carolyn clicked again. Now the screen showed it access logs. Temporary workstation unlock request. Requested at 7:41 p.m. Approved through manager override credentials. Session origin. Local workstation. Keyboard activity began at 7:42 p.m. Vendor bank details. Changed at 7:42 p.m. Payment batch reviewed at 7:48 p.m. Carolyn turned to Brent. Your manager override was used. Brent's mouth opened, then closed. I did not approve that. Dana's fingers tightened around her pen. Carolyn clicked one more time. Printer station camera. Dana was visible at 7:40. She was holding a small yellow sticky note. The camera was not close enough to read it, but corporate security had enhanced the still frame enough to show the company login format written across the top line. My login format, not my password. But enough. Then Carolyn played the final clip. At 8:07 p.m., Dana walked back down the hallway. She stopped near a trash bin outside the break room, dropped something in. Corporate security placed a clear plastic evidence sleeve on the table. Inside was a torn sticky note. It had my username, and beneath it, in Dana's handwriting, one temporary access code. The room went completely silent. This was the public reversal. Same conference room. Same table. Same table. Same people, but this time, I was not the question. I was the witness. Dana shook her head. She whispered, "No, that is not what happened." Carolyn did not argue. She clicked again. This time, the screen showed the access ticket. Submitted under Brent's manager profile, but the IP address came from Dana's assigned laptop. Omar had found it. The ticket request note said, "Urgent unlock for V. Carter workstation. Approved by B. Keller." But Brent had been at a client dinner from 6:30 to 9 p.m. His calendar confirmed it. The restaurant receipt confirmed it. His phone location confirmed it. Dana had used saved manager credentials from an unsecured admin browser session on Brent's office computer earlier that day. She had not just framed me. She had walked through 2 unlocked doors and called it strategy. Marcy covered her mouth. Leonard looked like he wanted to disappear into his own suit. Brent stared at Dana with the face of a man realizing that the employee he trusted had used his laziness as a ladder. Dana tried to laugh. It came out broken. This is being taken out of context. Carolyn looked at her calmly. What context explains you entering the building after hours, using Miss Carter's workstation, initiating a temporary unlock, changing vendor banking information, and discarding the access code? Dana looked at Brent. Tell them. Brent leaned away from her. That was the villain collapse. Not a scream. Not a dramatic confession. Just a woman reaching for the room and realizing the room had moved. I was trying to expose a weakness, Dana said. Nobody answered. I was going to reverse it before anything cleared, Carolyn said. The money cleared. Dana's face emptied. The receiving account is tied to a shell vendor created 3 weeks ago. Carolyn continued. The bank has frozen part of the transfer. Law enforcement has been notified. Law enforcement, those 2 words made Dana stop blinking. Then she whispered the sentence guilty people always reach for when truth becomes legal. I think I need a lawyer. Nobody stopped her. Nobody comforted her. Nobody said her integrity message was beautiful. Corporate security escorted Dana out through the same hallway where she had carried the sticky note. I watched her pass the glass wall. Her shoulders were stiff. Her mouth was tight. She did not look at me. That was fine. The camera had already done enough looking for both of us. After she left, Brent turned toward me. He said, "I am sorry. There are apologies that heal, and there are apologies that arrive because the evidence left no other furniture in the room." His was the second kind. I looked at him and said, "You believed context before you checked cameras." He lowered his eyes. Marcy said, "Your leave is reversed immediately. Your record will reflect no wrongdoing," Carolyn added. "We will also be issuing a formal correction to the finance department and executive team." I nodded. But restoration is not only about getting your desk back. Sometimes restoration means refusing to return to the exact shape people broke. "I want 3 things," I said. Everyone looked at me. Written confirmation that I was cleared by the investigation. Carolyn nodded. Second, a formal apology sent to everyone who was told I was under review. Leonard wrote that down. Third, I want a review of access controls, manager override procedures, and vendor bank change approvals. No one in this company should be able to turn someone else's name into a crime scene that easily. Carolyn looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "Agreed." Brent said nothing. That was the first useful thing he had done all week. The formal correction went out Monday morning. Subject line finance investigation update. It was dry, corporate, careful. But it said what it needed to say. Viola Carter has been fully cleared of any wrongdoing. The unauthorized vendor payment was connected to improper system access by another employee. Additional controls have been implemented. We appreciate Miss Carter's cooperation and professionalism. Professionalism. That word made me smile. Not because they finally saw mine, because Dana had tried to weaponize it against me. And in the end, professionalism was the rope that pulled the truth into daylight. Dana was terminated. Brent was demoted pending further review for credential negligence. Marcy retired 6 months later, though everyone pretended the timing was personal. Omar Frummett was promoted to security systems analyst. He never admitted he helped me. I never made him. Some debts are better paid in silence. As for me, I returned to work, but I did not return the same. The first day back, people tried to act normal, too normal. The break room went quiet again, but this time the silence had shame in it. A junior accountant named Leela stopped by my desk. She looked nervous. "I should have said something," she whispered. I looked up from my keyboard. "Yes," I said, "you should have." Her eyes filled. I did not comfort her. That may sound cold, but I had spent too many years softening the consequences of other people's silence. I was done turning my pain into a pillow for everyone else. 2 weeks later, Carolyn offered me a new position. Finance controls manager, higher pay, more authority, direct line to regional compliance. My job was to rebuild the approval process that had almost buried me. I accepted, not because the company deserved me, because the system that failed me needed someone inside it who knew exactly where the cracks were. The first rule I changed was vendor banking approval. No single login could change bank details. No temporary unlock could be approved without two-factor confirmation. No manager credentials could be saved on shared devices. No after-hours vendor edits without automatic compliance alerts. And every finance employee was trained on one sentence I wrote myself. A system that can frame an innocent person is not secure. I kept that sentence on the first slide. People shifted in their seats when they read it. Good. Some truths should make a room uncomfortable. 6 months later, Mason Ridge Packaging renewed their contract with us. The frozen funds were partially recovered. The rest was covered by insurance. Dana's case moved quietly through legal channels. I did not follow every detail. I did not need to. When done right, does not require you to keep watching the person fall. Sometimes you just remove your name from under their lie and let gravity finish the work. One evening, I stayed late in the office. Not because Brent asked. Not because anyone needed rescuing, because I was finishing a new audit dashboard with my name properly listed at the top, prepared by Viola Carter. I printed the final copy and stood by the same printer where Dana had once held that sticky note. The hallway was quiet. The camera above the corner blinked red. I looked at it and almost laughed. That little camera had no emotion, no loyalty, no opinion. It did not care who was popular. It did not care who sounded professional. It did not care who sent integrity emails with heart emojis underneath. It only remembered who stayed late. And sometimes that is all justice needs. A memory that does not blink. They blamed me for the missing company money because my name was easy to type into a report. They thought silence meant guilt. They thought calm meant cornered. They thought a quiet woman would spend all her strength trying to be believed. But I did not need to shout over the lie. I only needed the footage to press play. Because a thief can borrow your login. A liar can borrow your name. But they cannot borrow your alibi from a camera that watched them walk through the door. And that is what they forgot. The truth does not always arrive loud. Sometimes it arrives in black and white video, at 7:09 p.m. carrying the face of the person who thought nobody was watching. They thought my silence was where the accusation would live, but silence was only where the evidence waited for the room to get quiet.